This is BBC London 94.9. At the weekend, A World in London. A World in London. With DJ Ritu.
Thanks very much, Elaine Park and Gemma King. There'll be more news and travel at 10. It's back to your weekly Global Groove show now. Yes, A World in London at 94.9. Joining me, DJ Ritu, in our second hour is Armenian music expert Hazmik Movsisyan, here to enlighten us about sounds from a sometimes forgotten and overlooked land. We'll learn more after hearing some of her tracks that she's brought in with her this evening. Hazmik Movsisyan. How do you pronounce your surname?
Movsisyan.
Movsisyan. Oh, a bit like how I pronounced it then.
Yes.
A bit like that. Terrific choice for your first track. Very catchy. It's like a mixture of jazz, funk,
Armenian traditional music and traditional instruments. Yes, that particular song was by the Armenian jazz band led by Armen Martirosyan, who this year also wrote the song for the Eurovision for Armenia.
And wasn't it Jivan Gasparin who
also
was
playing
performing?
In that? Yes, with Yeva Rivas. And the song was called, and still is called, Apricot Stone. Just going back to the song that we just heard, why I like that song is because as you said, it's a mixture of many elements, many instruments, many voices and many styles, and essentially it's jazz. But I love it when Armen mixes Armenian traditional music the singer singing is Aramo, who was a very, very big star in the 80s. He still carries on to be a very good musician. But also, I'm sure you all heard an elderly gentleman singing in a very amateur way. Armen does this all the time. He goes to Armenian mountains, to villages, and he has the grandfathers and grandmothers sing our old songs, traditional songs, village songs, and he records them. And then he mixes it into his songs.
I see.
That is why the result is so interesting and so pure, and you can't figure out where it's coming from.
No, it's completely a mix of, contemporary and traditional.
That's right, and we also heard a bit of duduk in it.
Now, duduk, let's just talk about duduk straight away, because when people talk about Armenian music, the instrument duduk is brought up all the time. What is a duduk?
Well, duduk
exactly.
is right, I can't play the duduk, but what I know about duduk is what I have heard from a lot of people and from some research that I have done by myself. Some say duduk is about 1,500 to 3,000 years old. Some say 4,000 years old. It's a double reed instrument.
Double reed instrument,
and it's made of apricot stone. Now, there are other materials used right now as well, because the musicians travel quite a lot now, and the apricot wood can expand if you go to a hot or cold climate, so it changes. So what they tend to do is that they use different materials in different countries to avoid problems.
Okay. But and the sound of the instrument, is it clarinet-like? What is it like then?
There isn't any other sound similar to it. It absolutely is unique. I sometimes, myself think it can come close to clarinet, or clarinet can come close to duduk. But duduk has a very human voice. It sounds like a human person. I've heard it many, many times. Even from people who are not Armenian.
And probably the best known exponent of the instrument would be Jivan Gasparan, who we mentioned, who performed as part of the Eurovision Song Contest this year, representing Armenia.
That's right,
okay.
Yes.
Now, back to basics again. Let's locate Armenia geographically, please.
Armenia is somewhere in between Iran and Turkey and Georgia. Which we call it the Caucasus. Right?
The Caucasus Mountains.
The Caucasus Mountains. For a very long time, I thought that was Asia, but actually now we do classify as Europe, so we are in Europe.
And there's a history of Soviet.
That's right. We were part of the part of the former USSR for many, many, many years, and then we became independent. But when you go to Armenia, you still can feel this strong Russian influence, whether it's language or the way of thinking.
Were you born there, or do you go back there often?
I was born there. I was born in Yerevan, and I lived there as a child. Then my family moved to Prague, and I grew up in Prague. And for the last 12 years, I have been in London. But as you can see, being here as the founder of Music of Armenia, I have never left my roots, and I don't intend to. And I do go there quite often, especially now, thanks to Music of Armenia. I travel there quite a lot to meet new musicians and to work on different projects.
Okay, well, let's hear the second of your tracks. this feels like a very beautiful track. It sounds very Armenian. It sounds like it's from the Caucasus Mountains.
And it is.
Is
it? It is. But it has a very interesting story. Well, Music of Armenia, the organization that I founded in October 2008, is to promote Armenian music and musicians. And why I always separate music and musicians, the reason is that you don't have to be Armenian, but if you do play Armenian music, you still will be promoted by us. And why this song is interesting is because that song was performed by, the name of the song is Erzruni Shoror, and it was performed by Arax Band. Arax Band is based in Belgium, and only 2 members are Armenian. The remaining members are not Armenian. And what they do, they mix traditional instruments with classical instruments, but yet they always get this Armenian feeling. So, and that inspires me because that just goes to prove that you can be outside Armenia. You don't have to have Armenians, and you don't have to necessarily use Armenian instruments, and you still will get the Armenian music and Armenian feeling.
Yes.
So I like the band a lot, and I respect that, and I'm grateful that there are people like that out there in Belgium, in Europe, promoting our music and our culture.
Well, you've also hit on a kind of a raw note there, really, because when we were talking about Armenia, where it's located geographically, you said between sort of Iran, Turkey, Russia,
Yeah,
but there are many Armenians spread all over the world. I mean, there's been a displacement of the people,
That's
right?
right.
Can you tell me a bit more about... part of the reason I'm asking you this as well, years ago, when I was a fresh young lass like you, I used to waitress at Pizza Hut in the Strand.
Oh, right.
Yes, I know that made your day to have that bit of information shared with you. And one of the guys who was a waiter there, and I will always remember this guy. He was a very distinctive. You know, he had a very big, lots of beard, basically, and a mass of black hair. But he was Armenian, and he's the first Armenian person I ever met. And he told me that his country had been wiped off the face of the earth.
Right. What that means. I'm sure that he was referring to the genocide of 1915 in Turkey.
Eastern Turkey.
Eastern Turkey in Anatolia, which now is Turkey, which used to be Armenia. And because of that, a lot of Armenians were deported, and I said this in converted commas, because we all know that we're not deported to Syria and to neighboring countries. But those people carried on moving around the world, and they went on to France, then to America, then to different parts of the world. And so essentially what happened is that it resulted in Armenians being all around the world. There's about 10 million Armenians around the world, and only 2 million live in Armenia. Also,
so the majority are not
abroad,
in Armenia.
That's right, in diaspora. That's right.
And there's the largest concentration, I believe, is in California.
California, then in France, then in Russia. The biggest ones outside Armenia, of course.
And what's the size of the population here in London?
Well, we're talking about 15 to 20,000 Armenians. Not a huge community, and it's very sad that it's very good and very sad. By good, everywhere Armenians go, they're very good at integrating and becoming part of the society and contributing to the society, and we're welcome everywhere. Very bad because they tend to very quickly forget the language, or they never even speak because their parents never spoke, or they don't really stick to our traditions or habits, should I say, anymore. So that's the sad part.